Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the greatest players that the league has to offer. He just signed a 5-year Supermax contract, making him the highest paid player in NBA history. And if you go on social media, you'll see so many people congratulating Giannis, and don't get me wrong, we definitely need to do so. But you'll also see the other side of the coin, and you'll see people saying this is a bad decision for his career and he needs to leave Milwaukee if he wants to win a championship. But I don't think people understand how much of a W small market teams took when Giannis chose to stay in Milwaukee, because he's essentially throwing the rest of his prime at the organization and saying, build a championship team for me here. And that is a huge W, not only for the Milwaukee Bucks organization because they get to keep somebody like Giannis, but it's a huge W for small market teams because it not only stops a big market team from getting one of the best, if not the best player in the NBA, but it also could be the right turn for the Milwaukee Bucks to become one of the better franchises moving forward in the league. Because don't get me wrong, they've been respectable over the last couple of years with Giannis leading the helm, back-to-back #1 seeds in the Eastern Conference Finals appearance. They've had a very successful run over the past couple of years with Giannis Antetokounmpo as their best player, especially after the addition of Mike Budenholzer as the head coach. But ever since the days of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson, the Bucks haven't really gone anywhere. They haven't gone anywhere close to the NBA Finals since then, and they've had some really mediocre years. Let's not forget the Monte Ellis times with Brandon Jennings. Those are probably the best years of the Bucks since 2000, before Giannis Antetokounmpo joined their organization. And that's sad. That tells you a lot about the state of that team and the franchise as a whole before they've revamped themselves over the past couple of seasons. So for them to be able to keep Giannis, who essentially is the biggest reason why they were able to turn their franchise around, it could give them a level of consistency that they could potentially hold until even after he retires, because who knows what Giannis is going to be able to accomplish in Milwaukee. Because if he's able to go out there and get them a championship, he could potentially attract other guys to come, whether it's in the free agency market or them doing a sign and trade with any of the players on the team. Because let's not act like Chris Middleton is not expendable, because if they win a championship, he plays fairly decent. You could always move his contract. It may be very hard, but it's not impossible. Drew Holiday is another guy that they can move eventually in the future. DiVincenzo's also on the roster. I'm just really throwing names out there because it's not like it's impossible for them to make moves to retool this organization, especially in the years to come, because Giannis does have 5 years on that deal. So they have more than enough time to build a championship roster around him that can get him what he wants. And I also have to say this for Giannis. A lot of people are not considering that it's not impossible for Giannis to get a championship to Milwaukee. People know that. So if that's the case, if you believe that Giannis is just that great of a player and he could even have that impact on other teams like the Miami Heat or the Dallas Mavericks or the Toronto Raptors, all these other teams that he was rumored to go to, then you have to think that it would be possible for him to at least win in Milwaukee. I get it, it's cool to see Giannis in big markets and team up with marquee names to make great duos, but it doesn't always work like that. Some guys have that sense of loyalty to their organizations, and considering the fact that the Bucks are a huge part in Giannis's growth as a player that a lot of people did not see coming in the first place, I can understand that 100%. Because let's not act like Giannis was Giannis when he entered the NBA. He was not the Greek freak. He was just a guy that was looked at as a project when he came into the league, to the point that he wasn't even picked in the top 10. He would go on and improve every single year of his career and become the guy that we know and love today, who's the 2-time MVP and a Defensive Player of the Year winner, all at the age of 26. And when you combine that with his history and his family and him having to grow up in the conditions that he grew up with, a lot of that plays into his personality and just his overall sense of emotion. Giannis is not like a lot of these other guys. Hell, even when you just look at him in post-game press conferences, he's very blunt. You could tell he doesn't really care about people's reactions to what he's about to say, and I like that as a fan of his and just a fan of the NBA in general. I'm tired of seeing PC or should I say hearing PC answers from damn near every single player, to the point that you don't even know what a lot of them are thinking. And when you see a guy like Giannis, he'll just tell you straight up, yeah, we were attacking James Harden because he's not great on defense. This is a guy that moves completely different from a lot of the other stars in the NBA. And even when I'm being objective here, Giannis is not innocent when it comes to a lot of the Bucks' failures over the last couple of seasons in the postseason. Because at the end of the day, despite Bledsoe playing bad and Middleton choking in the fourth quarters in certain moments, Giannis is not a reliable shooter from behind the arc in any way, shape, or form, and his inability to make jump shots can hinder any offense in a terrible way, especially considering that he can't make free throws and he really only has one go-to move, which is his straight line drive. And with all those things being considered, you have to think that Giannis may have thought of those things also. So maybe he said, I have to grow as a player, I have to get better as a jump shooter, and maybe if those things happen, I can become the player I need to be to lead this team towards an NBA championship. Even when it comes to teaming up with other superstars, Giannis has even gone on the record and stated that he doesn't want to go join them, but he would love for them to join him. So it also shows his personality and how he views himself. He genuinely believes that he can bring a championship home to the city of Milwaukee, and that one championship will be worth more than so many other rings, because the Milwaukee city itself has not seen basketball success ever since the 70s. And I'm sorry, but nobody cares about the 70s era. Nobody. That is easily the weakest era in the history of basketball. And then to make matters worse, the player that got them that ring decided to skip town and went to the Los Angeles Lakers. Imagine if something like that had happened again with this organization and they lose Giannis, maybe not to the Lakers, but they lose into the Heat or the Mavericks, another one of these big market teams, and now the Bucks have to start all the way over and look for a franchise guy that may not come within another 50 years, just like the space between Kareem and Giannis. It's not easy for small market teams to find guys like Giannis, KD, LeBron. I'm talking top 5 to 10 players in the NBA. It's not easy for a small market team, or any team for that matter, and the job only gets tougher when the conversation shifts from getting those players to keeping them. And the Milwaukee Bucks, I have given them a lot of criticism. I was very harsh on them when they signed Eric Bledsoe to that stupid extension instead of simply waiting till the playoffs, where he choked yet again. But regardless of my feelings about that matter, they took the biggest W of the entire offseason, because them keeping Giannis Antetokounmpo, regardless of if you think they're going to win a championship or not, is a massive W, because they're not a team that's gonna sell hella tickets without a guy like Giannis. They're not the Knicks, whose fans are delusional and think they have hope every single year. They're not the Los Angeles Lakers, who will stick with their team no matter what. They're a city that can move on without basketball. And if that's the case, you need to do everything in your power to not only make your team competitive, but to just simply have a draw that can give you consistent revenue. And with Giannis staying, that problem is completely fixed. Even if the result is them never winning a championship, which would be very sad, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to act like that reality is not possible, because hey, it's definitely possible. But I think people need to also understand that the Bucks, this is a W regardless of that. Not for Giannis, but for the Milwaukee Bucks, it's a W regardless, because they got to give themselves at least a chance. This is the best chance this organization will ever have at a championship, because we all know the chances of them getting a player of Giannis caliber, whether in the draft or trade market, those chances are slim to none. So with all of that being said, shout out to Giannis Antetokounmpo, because he deserves his money 1000%, and shout out to the small market teams out there, in particular the Milwaukee Bucks, because it was a huge W for all those organizations. They are winning right now with players like Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Giannis Antetokounmpo. They love their teams, and I'm happy for those cities and organizations, because They need guys like these players, and in the case of Giannis, I don't believe he's done winning awards with an MVP or Defensive Player of the Year. I believe that he will one day bring a championship to Milwaukee. So to all the Giannis fans that are worried about him never getting a championship, do not be worried, man. He can definitely get that ring. He has enough help around him. The organization, as much as they've messed up before in the past, they've proven to be competent to make certain moves to put themselves in better positions to win a championship. So I do have faith in the front office as well. But you guys, let me know your opinions down below. Do you think this was a mistake on Giannis' part, or do you believe that he will deliver on his promise to bring a ring to the city of Milwaukee? Let me know your opinions down below in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell for post notifications. Follow me on social media. Y'all stay safe. I'm out. Peace.